Everyone. It's been a while since I've connected to this space, but I really felt like connecting today and sharing some words about an experience that I had recently in Mexico and everything that I learned from that experience. So during the month of April this year, me and a dear sister, Bianca Kempe, and other sisters who were holding space with us organized a new Earth Priestess training with the intention of really supporting women who feel that they want to be of service to a wider collective, who want to make a positive change in this world, to step into their power and to develop their medicine, to go through the steps that are needed to be able to fully enter into that service. And there's a lot that was learned from that experience that I want to share with you, because many of us, maybe many of you watching this, many people who are part of my Magdalene community for sure, feel a very strong sense of purpose of making a change in this world. And one of the things that I've been receiving all throughout my spiritual journey and throughout the years of teaching as well and traveling is that it's not because we have the desire and the intention to do something that we are ready to do so. And I think it's a little bit of a trap that a lot of people fall into in our world, because we receive this message through social media, through our society today, that we can do anything we put our minds to. Yes, within certain circumstances and under certain conditions as well. So one of the things that I want to mention before going into this is that today, at the moment of filming this video, we are in 2025. We are in a number 9 year, so it's a year of karmic cycles, of closing cycles and opening a new one. So on a collective level, which means that there's a lot of healing on the collective happening. All of us are feeling this. We are closing one cycle to enter into something entirely new the next year. Which means that those of us who are either already working on the level of the collective or have the deep intention and desire to step into this service feel what is moving through the collective and will be challenged, because there is so much moving and healing on a collective level. So that is one thing. We are entering into the Age of Aquarius. That is very clear. Which means that there is a shift happening from the individual to the collective. We have spent a number of years and decades now in our human history, the past couple of decades and centuries, we can say, have been really focused on individuality, on sovereignty, on reclaiming our power, on reclaiming our individuality. We have broken free, and a lot of us are still breaking free, of certain types of templating where there was a sense of sacrifice at the service or at the benefit of the collective. We have now gone to the other side of the spectrum where there's an overemphasis on the individual. And it's something that we see in social media. For example, there's an infinite number of courses where you can learn to become wealthy. And this is put forward as a number one value. Become rich, drive a Ferrari, buy your villa, go spend time by the pool. This is what makes you a successful human being. Well, I truly believe that this kind of structure, energy templating is crumbling away, is falling away, because it's empty. There's no sense of purpose in that. It has no meaning in the wider spectrum of our humanity, of our human history, of our planet. Who cares if you had a pool and a Ferrari? What matters is what you contribute to the creation of our collective reality, which doesn't mean that wealth is a bad thing or that you can't aspire to that, but it shouldn't be the main goal, because what you will create is an empty shell of a life. And I really see a shift away from that, even on social media. What we're seeing and feeling in the collective is a real need and desire for meaning. And so there's a weaving of personal aspirations and the desire with collective aspirations and desires. What I feel and felt very clearly also through the experience in Mexico is that there is an even bigger shift of the collective needs taking precedent over the personal and the individual, which to me is something that is very new. Is something that wasn't there in the past couple of decades, centuries, even millennia. It's a shift back to an original way of being and thinking where we are at every step of our creation, of our human experience, conscious of the fact that we are part of a network and that we operate within that network, that we influence that network at each and every moment, which doesn't take anything away from our individuality, by the way. We are meant to develop our individual skills and bring out our medicine, our true, unique frequency, and contribute that to the collective creation. Back to the experience in Mexico. The intention really of the retreat was to propel forward the women who felt that they were ready to put the collective over the individual and put their individual mission, purpose, work, creations, actions at the service of the collective. Now, we might think we want this, but that doesn't always mean we do. We might think we are ready for this, but that doesn't always mean we are. And there are some of the things that I felt and noticed and that are important if you feel yourself to be part of this soul group of people, of light workers. And I do believe that anyone has the potential to become a light worker with a certain amount of work and clarity on who we are and what needs to be clarified and purified within, of course. But if this is your purpose, so it has become crystal clear that there are some values, that there are some traits that need to be present within a person who wants to be of service to the collective. If those are not there, then maybe you are not ready or not meant to be of service to the collective. And I think it is important to be very aware, very lucid, and to make a choice knowing what it entails to really step into a space of service. And what it entails is very far removed from many things that we see on social media today, where glamorous priestesses or priests or healers are dancing in fabulous dresses. And that doesn't mean that you can't do that. I enjoy beautiful things. I enjoy enjoying myself. But this is not the focus of my service. This is not the focus of my human experience. And this is not the essence of what it means to be a priestess or a priest in today's world. Some of the qualities and some of the requirements to step into a position of space holder for the collective. Number one, be prepared to face your trauma. Be prepared to face your trauma and to work on your trauma to release it. This is a super important one. If you are doing any kind of spiritual work, real work, not just surface level, not just putting on a dress and doing a priestess course where it's all about dancing and singing and not going into the depth. Again, I love dancing and singing. Alongside that, we have to be able to go into the depth. So face your trauma. Any kind of real work will confront you with imbalance, with trauma that is still within you. Because you as a space holder are the pillar of the temple. Your channel needs to be pure. When you have the intention to be a channel, a space holder, a pillar for a space or a community, Spirit will work with you to purify you. If you are afraid of trauma of the past, of demons of the past, if there are certain things that you don't want to see anymore, that you don't want to revisit, that you don't want to face, don't go on this path, because it will come up as a natural process of alchemy. And that is an important one, because I see very often today in the world of spirituality, New Age spirituality, and a lot of people sharing on social media, that very clearly what they are sharing is either coming from still a very traumatized space or as a trauma response. Second point is that we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be free of any dissonance or any trauma or any misalignment. We are human beings, and human beings have a history, and human beings make mistakes. We don't have to wait until we are perfect to be able to step into a position of space holder. What we do need is to be very aware and lucid on the trauma that is still there, on the misalignment that is still there. And the most important thing is that under no circumstance can we project our trauma outward, which is very often what happens. Another is not responsible for the way we are feeling. So especially as a space holder, we can't be triggered by other people's behavior. So we need to be very, very clear on that. Third, very important point, as a collective space holder, as someone who is a light worker for this planet, for this humanity, for the earth, you have to be able to hold space for others. And this might seem as the most logical, self-evident point, but it is hardly from always the case. It means that when we are in a group setting, we can be understanding, compassionate, and patient when another person is going through a process, when another person is struggling, when another person is sharing. It is something that I witness very often in group settings, that people are only interested in their own sharing and get impatient or even annoyed when other people are sharing or when other people are going through a process. A real space holder for the collective holds space. Whatever setting you are in, whatever environment you are in, you always have the power to impact the space in a positive way. What is needed if you really want to make a change on the level of the collective is a deep sense of humility and patience, is the recognition that this other person who is struggling and who you might consider not as evolved as you or not as far along on the path as you, is part of you in some way, is part of the collective weaving in some way. If you want the collective to move forward, this person that you are getting annoyed with or impatient with needs to be able to move forward as well. The best way to do that is to stay open-hearted and to stay compassionate and to hold space for that person. If you have no patience to do that, if you have no desire to do that, you are not meant to be a light worker on the level of the collective. For as a light worker on the level of the collective, you know that the work is never finished, that you are never finished learning and journeying on your path. For me, that's a major red flag. People who believe that they have nothing left to learn, that they have nothing left to integrate, are people who haven't started on the path yet. You know as a teacher that you are an eternal student of life, an eternal student of the mysteries. You know as a space holder that the space is the whole planet, is the whole of humanity. Until the whole of humanity evolves, none of us are really going to a point of enlightenment. We either all get enlightened together or not at all. So it is having the humility to know that you don't know it all, and the humility to receive new teachings, new learnings, new information. Number 5 is that you don't run away from what scares you, what triggers you, or what makes you feel uncomfortable. Only wanting to see the love and light and ease is spiritual bypassing. You need to be able to sit in discomfort. If you really want to be a sacred alchemist, if you really want to be at the service of what is happening on a collective level, it is deeply uncomfortable. It is deeply gritty. There is so much trauma that needs to be cleared, that needs to be moved. There are so many people on this planet living in circumstances that are so traumatic, so difficult, so violent, that it is impossible to stay in a position of love and light, in a state of love and light and ease. And if it is, you are not tapping into the collective. You are bypassing. You are bypassing because it hurts to feel, it hurts to see everything that is happening on this planet, but it is needed, it is necessary if you want to really make a change on this planet. As a healer, as a space holder, as a teacher, as a guide, your greatest tool is your capacity to feel. You need to allow yourself to deeply feel it all, with, of course, the integrated wisdom of not projecting the wounding that you feel, the hurt that you feel outward and hurting others in the process. So those are some of the things that came forward really clearly for me during that 1 month training. Yes, we can learn tools. Yes, we can read words. Yes, we can integrate the gnosis of certain teachings. But in the mystery teachings, in the wisdom teachings, we know that no gnosis is received until it is activated and embodied and carried through in our words and actions. So it is not because we have a certain desire that we are actually ready to go there, that actually our ego, our personality is willing to go there, and we need to be very lucid. We need to really question all the dimensions of our being. Do we want this? Are we ready to step in that space under the conditions that I just mentioned? No hiding, no bypassing, no running away, no staying on the surface. It's really feeling it all, going into the depths, sitting in the discomfort. That is what it takes to do the work today. And so for me, on a personal level, as a teacher, I learned a lot during that experience to sit in the depth, to sit in the darkness and come out into the light and really deeply understand what it takes to be a planetary light worker, a planetary healer, really develop the capacity to feel it all and to hold it all. And from a space of holding it all, move forward on our individual path, taking everything into account as a true holistic healer, as a true holistic beacon of light and new earth consciousness on this planet. And all of us need to ask ourselves this question, because I can tell you from what I experience now and what I'm feeling moving under the surface of the collective, things will get intense over the coming years. And when you are stepping into that space, be prepared. Be prepared to journey with the intensity of it all. That said, even if you choose to just stay on the surface, I believe it's not sustainable. I believe that this dimension of existence, of experience, will not continue to exist, which is also for me a great motivation of taking people through initiations and really teaching them how to be, how to sit in the depths and how to really accept that process and move forward in all the dimensions of the being. I do feel that the kind of superficial layer, which in the end is a layer of illusion, is going to fall away, that the smoke curtain is slowly disappearing. And we're coming back to the truth of who we are and the truth of what it means to live in this reality and live in this collective. And for me, it took 2 months to journey through this experience. 1 month holding the space for everyone and feeling different kinds of experiences. But because I was holding space for others, I wasn't really able to have my own journey and to really feel what was moving. And then the whole month after, which was for me a journey into the depths. It was a real, I guess it is akin to a dark night of the soul. I've had a dark night of the soul at the beginning of my spiritual journey, now 15 or more than 15 years ago, when I started after an awakening to different dimensional planes and spirit guides and all kinds of voices and physical experiences moving through my body, reading the books of Drunvalo Melchizedek, actually, of the Flower of Life, and really being confronted with the reality of our world, with the dissonance, with the misalignment, with the structures of abuse, of control, of enslavement on this planet, and feeling the deep, deep, deep sadness of all of that, the deep injustice of all of that. And I had a mini experience of that now over the course of 1 month after this retreat, because even as a space holder who has been active already for 15 years, I can feel this Aquarian shift of bigger service towards the collective and towards this Earth's consciousness. And we all know that this planet has endured so much abuse, so much disregard, so much pillaging of her resources, of her energy, so much disrespect. All of this will need to be cleared in the Aquarian age. And so I was feeling all of this, all of the dissonance, all of the disregard of the feminine as well, the abuse of the feminine, the abuse that is often today being perpetuated amongst women. And so that really made me journey and meet some of my own trauma that has been present from this lifetime, from different lifetimes, and really clearing that. And what I felt through that whole process of clearing, which wasn't easy, but which I'm deeply grateful for, is that what got brought online, what started to really come online, is a whole new template of existence, a whole new inner temple, inviting in a different temple consciousness. And this new template, this new temple of being, is really this template of the collective moving through the personal. And the personal and the individual being fully aligned with the highest collective agenda of creation, of a thriving reality for all. And it takes to really step into that a real, in a way, ego death, a real death of pre-existing structures. And there was a bigger cracking. It's the cracking of the egg when we move into a more expansive state of being. Only that this cracking of the egg was really big, because I feel that it's announcing a really big inner shift, heralding a huge collective shift. So for the light workers amongst us, I felt it was important to share this message. Maybe you resonate with this. Maybe you have been feeling some of this. This is a big year. And this is a big time in our collective experience, in our humanity. And those of us who have the intention, the willpower, and the readiness to step into service for the collective, I feel we'll all go through this process of retemplating our being to the collective grid. Very literally, it felt like being unplugged from the existing grid, collective grid, which then leaves you in a space of in between, in a space of not knowing in a way, and then being replugged into the new network of creation that is forming, the new weaving, the new web, which is all about the collective. And it feels like the fulfillment of those prophecies, many of the indigenous prophecies, like the Hopi prophecy of these two timelines existing simultaneously. These two timelines are actually two grids of creation. So we are all individually deciding if we stay plugged into the superficial grid of illusion, or if we plug ourselves into the grid of collectively creating, collectively thriving, and all being part of one big organism that coexists and that co-creates a more beautiful and more peaceful reality for all. And this involves, of course, big work and big inner shifts. Please let me know how you feel underneath this video. How does this resonate with you? How have you been feeling? Have you been sensing this shift? Have you been experiencing some of these symptoms? Have you been making certain decisions for yourself as well? Thank you for listening. I hope to see you soon. If you've enjoyed this, please like and share.